Yeah, okay. My name is Tom Weiner. I'm from Six Branches, and I guess basically this question is directed directly to Gay, and that is the fact that there are some financial considerations on this, and I would like to have your opinion stated as to what the relative value of the clubhouse would be to any future resale value of property in Martin's Landing, and basically, again, whether these clubhouses that you've featured are part of what realtors would say. Let's say you have to have a tub in order to sell a home. Is that in the same reason? And yet, most of us that have garden tubs don't use them.
Okay, great question. Um, Speaking as a realtor, um, it used to be many years ago that people would just say, "Oh, I fell in love with this house," and that was it. Today, that is not the case. Now they want to go by and they want to see what the clubhouse looks like, what the pool looks like, what the recreation looks like. I've had grandparents that say, "I'm going to have my grandchildren over." That clubhouse is important to me. So, in the overall scheme of things, yes, it makes a vast amount of difference as to your resale value. The reason many realtors think Martin's Landing is run down is A, people are not fixing up their houses, but B, our amenities need upgrading. And that's what the realtors are looking at. Now, I will just say as an aside note that I have recently looked at houses that are up for sale. And you talk about a garden club. More importantly, I'm seeing a lot of people that are improving their kitchens and improving their baths. So that has to be done as well. It is a teamwork of improving your house as well as the Martin's Landing board keeping our amenities up to par. And that's what we're trying to do with getting a master plan and so forth. But in answer to your question, in the overall scheme of things, any agent will tell you that the amenities package, including a clubhouse, is extremely important as to appraisal value as well.
Hi, I'm Vicki Hudson from North Pond. First, I'd like to also thank this committee for doing just an incredible job without pay. That is shocking and amazing. I have a comment which is really more of a concern and then a question that's attached to it. So my concern is the economy of late has kind of taught us a lot of lessons in this country. I'm sure we all have thought about that a lot. And one of those lessons that I think everyone seems to have been learning lately is that less is more, right? So the less is more theory. The concern that I'm feeling about especially option C for this river club is that we're not sort of taking those lessons from the economic situation into account. And that option C, that everything seems to be, that bigger is better. 5,000 square feet versus 2,500. It seems the timing maybe is a little off for that. And so what sparked that concern is when you said that the estimate was not detailed. Well, we all know from our own home construction projects that those estimates are almost always lower than the actual cost turns out to be. So my question is, between this, the dam project, and other projects, have we taken all of that into account, and is this just going to financially spiral out of control?
I can address a part of that question.
Just worried.
Um, see, I'm trying to organize my thoughts in how you asked the question. The statement about the estimate and, when we use a home builder and we always find out we got to pay more. We've had a number of people give us a comment that, just again, I'm going to use A as an example because it's the first one up there, that $800,000 is a ridiculous sum of money to pay to build that structure. And I could build a house for $300,000 and it could fit plenty of people, et cetera, et cetera. So the way we have priced this, at the stage at which we are now at, construction price estimating, and I'll also add really quickly that we're pricing this is a commercial project. This is not a residential project. Residential pricing it's traditionally lower than commercial pricing. There are lots of reasons for that, primarily bonding, insurance, the types of subcontractors that are used, et cetera. But where it as you dial down on the design, pricing dials down with it. What we don't want to have happen, and I can give a personal anecdote, we don't want to set a budget and then later on have to come and ask for more money. I am personally doing a project right now in Houston. The contractor priced it at concept stage at $150,000. When they finally drew it and said, let's go get a permit, and they priced it for real, it was $200,000. Well, the owner took that $150,000 and plugged it into his pro forma and went with it. Now that contractor doesn't have the job, I do, and I'm working on T&M to fix it. I'm not going to let us do that. That's not going to happen. The other question, I guess there was a second part of your question. Oh, yeah, I don't know if that was a question or a statement. I can't really address that. But as far as the question was about the loan and what's all included in that, that's really more for the finance or the board to answer than I. It's not really, I don't know that I can address that.
But the fact is, the $4 million loan covers the price of the dam, we anticipate, covers the lakeshore improvements, that's the seawalls and that kind of stuff, and covers $600,000 of the River Club. That's the big picture, and that's what they're telling us. And that's the current terms that we have. We are, in fact, engaged in the commitment of the $4 million loan, and that should take place at the August board meeting. The decision on the River Club will probably not take place until September at a specially called meeting. That answers your question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, just one really quick thing. I want to add, the River Club Committee is a subcommittee of the P&D Committee that Tony and I are also co-chairs of. The austerity versus too much, too big, build it bigger, we agree with that, which is why we're working on prioritizing projects through P&D strictly for that reason. Just because it was budgeted doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it this year if you've got other priorities. So just, that's kind of an aside note.
And I'll be pretty quick, but I do want to also just piggyback on what Vicki said, because I am in, I think, total agreement regarding the concerns. Sure, I'm Valerie Saeed, and I live in North Pond. I'm actually part of the board there as well. I also have a 2-year-old, so I am very interested in having a community in which I can take her and my other kids as well. But there is definitely concern. Some of the things that Ms. Maloney spoke about in terms of the different categories in which we would use that River Club is, I would love to use it as Category C. But reality is also, we're looking at these costs here and where there's going to be a special assessment in addition to an increase in dues. But we also saw what's not included within the cost. So I guess the question is, if we were to go to that extreme, go to that Category C, which is ideal for me, but probably not realistic, what other costs have we possibly not factored in, which I think is exactly what Vicki was getting to. And how do we get to see that before we can make a decision in terms of the direction we're headed?
Yeah, I'd say two things. It's not an assessment and a dues increase. It's either or.
Okay.
Okay. And then what other costs are not included? From the standpoint of pure construction, which is what we've been concentrating on, it's a pretty exclamatory statement, but I don't think anything. I mean, I think we've.
Well, I guess outside of the furnishing, which would be pretty significant, so it is including that, as well as the maintenance of maintaining, probably having staff. So staff as well in terms of maintaining this type of stuff.
Yeah, the staff, the guy that sits at the tennis center was in that number.
600,000 is lumped in with the dams not in.
Oh, okay, I want to clear up something here. Valerie? Is it okay. When I say usage, how do you want to see it used? I am not advocating number C. You can do the same with A. You can do the same with B. It's just if you let's just take middle of the road. Let's just take B. In your usage, you say, okay, you know what? I'd like to see, I mean, at the River Club we did this. Everybody brought a dish and we had a little band and you set up that. It'd be easier to set it up in B than it would in A. So but the usage can be done in any of them. The occupancy changes. It's a matter of scale. So,
Assuming you have the furnishing to accommodate.
well, then you get into the furnishing, but keep in mind, okay, if we can't furnish it the way we want to furnish it the first year, okay, so we put the sparse in and then we add to it, you know? We don't, Roman head does not have to be built in a day. And when you say, when we go in remodeling and you say, okay, I have a kitchen X size, you could put a $30,000 kitchen in, or you could put a $90,000 kitchen in, same space. So it's a matter of how we want to later put it out. Mainly, we want to see how you want to use it.
Next question.
Sherry Curlin, East Hillside, and my question is somewhat related to some of what's been said, but I'm worried that we're wrongly defining our competitive environment. If I want to simply rent a space for a party, there are plenty of places around Roswell to rent, up through and including a room like this one. Or if I want to go to an outdoor pool, we already have two. So if we want to view this as a clubhouse, how can we make it different enough to be attractive to a variety of people, both within the community or outside? This is not a typical clubhouse in the sense that it's in the center or at the entrance of a planned development, and then all of the housing is in a U around it. We're sprawling, and we have these buildings that are all over. What if we had an indoor pool? There aren't that many in Roswell. What if we, that's the kind of thing. I'm wondering if we're totally misdefining what the purpose of this building is and need to somehow develop something that's different enough that it might actually have a return on investment someday instead of being a loss leader.
Right. Well, I think one of the primary focuses by this committee is to approach this project as replacing it as an existing amenity. As a committee, we've never asked the question, should we just eliminate the River Club? That's not what the Board of Directors asked us to do. So the question remains, are we going to replace like with like as much as possible, and that's what we're calling option A, or something larger? So I don't know if that answers your question, but we have several pools. We do not have a clubhouse in Martin's Landing right now. That's one thing you should understand. We currently do not have a clubhouse. So we're trying to repair the clubhouse we had before the flood. So
Also, I think I understood your question. You mentioned the competitive environment. Currently, this is a policy decision by the board. Rentals currently is only by Martin's Landing residents and the dues-paying members, outside members. We have not approached this like we're going to go out and try to rent this out like this room is rented out to anybody in Roswell. That doesn't mean that the board couldn't decide to do that, but that has not been the financial model that we've looked at. We've looked at this as an amenity only.